At 1:25 in the morning, a security camera across the street caught something strange. A small section of a parking garage just folded, like the ground had just given up. Then, 8 seconds later, the rest went with it. 12 stories, 98 floors of an apartment building with people sleeping in them, gone in under 20 seconds. And here's the part that's gonna bother you for the rest of this video. Engineers had already written down in plain English exactly where this building was going to fall 3 years before it happened. So today we're going to walk through what the report actually said, what the building's board did with it, and the final seconds before Champlain Towers South came down. Stick around because the ending of this one, the official explanation, might not be the one you're expecting. So let's start out with the building itself. Champlain Towers South went up in 1981 in Surfside, Florida, a small beachfront town squeezed between Miami Beach and Bal Harbour. It was 12 stories, 136 units, right on the Atlantic. For decades, it was just, well, a normal building. Retirees, young families, people who'd saved their whole lives just to get an ocean view out their windows. There was nothing particularly remarkable about the building that stood out over those 40 years. Now, let's fast forward to 2018. The building's condo association hires a structural engineer, Frank Morabito, to do a routine inspection. This is particularly standard in Florida, which requires buildings over a certain age to get recertified. Morabito walks the property, and what he finds is not routine. He documents major structural damage to the concrete slab below the pool deck, cracking, and spalling, which is when concrete breaks away and exposes the steel rebar inside, and that rebar corroding and rusting in the hot, humid ocean air. His report describes the waterproofing under the pool deck as having failed, and failed in a way that was causing, quote, major structural damage. He recommends replacing it, not patching it, as the damage is just too far for it to be patched up. He also flags the parking garage. The same story here as well. Cracked columns, exposed and corroding rebar, concrete that's basically being eaten from the inside out by salt air and water intrusion over 4 decades by the ocean. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. The report goes to the condo board, and what follows is years of meeting and bureaucracy, arguments over the total cost, and the repair bill keeps climbing. It starts from $9.1 million and eventually landing somewhere around $15 million to be split among the unit owners. Obviously, some residents are absolutely furious about this price tag. I mean, it is $15 million. Board members resign due to all the commotion, and there's friction and there's delay. There's the normal stuff that happens when 90-something different households have to agree on a $15 million bill. And through all of this drama, the actual repair work never starts. By spring of 2021, the building is in the middle of getting permits approved. Concrete restoration work is scheduled, however, it hasn't begun yet. Some residents in the weeks before the collapse mention hearing strange sounds, cracking and creaking. A few say they noticed new cracks in the parking garage that hadn't been there before. One pool contractor working nearby just hours before the collapse later said he heard what sounded like breaking glass or popping coming from underground. Nobody connected these dots in real time. I mean, why would they? People hear weird noises in old buildings all the time. You simply don't evacuate a 12-story tower because of a strange sound at midnight. Now let's go to that night, June 23rd, 2021. Most residents are asleep. It's a Wednesday night. Nothing particularly special about it. Some people are up, doing their homework, some are on their balcony having a smoke, and some are just getting back from a late shift. And then at 1:24 a.m., that surveillance camera across the street picks up the first sign of damage. A section of the pool deck and the parking garage beneath the eastern wing collapsed downwards. For a few seconds, and we know this from the footage, it's just that section. the middle of the building near the pool drops first, and then shortly after, the floors above it, with nothing left to hold them up, start to pancake. Floor onto floor onto floor. The collapse spreads outward from that center point, and within about 12 seconds, roughly 55 units fall straight down into a pile of rubble 3 stories high. The western part of the building, the part that didn't fully collapse, is left standing at a jagged angle like a torn piece of paper. People in those remaining units wake up to quite literally find their building literally cut in half. Tragically, 98 people are confirmed dead in the days and weeks that follow. It becomes one of the deadliest structural failures in US history. The rescue efforts that follows is its own story. The Miami-Dade fire rescue, along with teams from Israel and Mexico, dig through the rubble for over 2 weeks. They're working in brutal heat with the constant threat of the remaining structure coming down on top of them, which it eventually does when the standing portion is intentionally demolished a few days later because it became too unstable and a tropical storm was approaching. For the families waiting at the reunification center nearby, those 2 weeks were the longest of their lives. So what actually caused the building to collapse? This is the part that everyone wants a simple answer to, and the honest truth is, it's several things that all happen to be true at the same time. The National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, launched a full federal investigation, and it's actually still ongoing as of this recording, expected to be wrapped up with a final report identifying the probable cause. But based on what investigators and outside engineers have found so far, a few key factors keep coming up. 1. The pool deck. That area sat on a flat concrete slab, a design that was actually pretty common for the era, but one that distributes weight differently than a slab with supporting beams underneath it. Combine that with decades of water pooling on top of it, because the original design reportedly had drainage issues from very early on, and you get the kind of slow concrete degradation Morabito documented back in 2018. And the second major cause was corrosion. Salt air near the ocean for 40 years, eating into the steel reinforcement bars that were holding the concrete together from the inside. Once that rebar rusts and expands, it cracks the concrete around it. And once that concrete cracks, more water gets in, and more rebar corrodes. It's a slow motion process that can take decades until it doesn't. And lastly, number 3, and this one is particularly debated, with some investigators have pointed out the original 1981 construction itself, suggesting that the pool deck slab may have been under-reinforced relative to the load it was eventually carrying, especially after additional weight like new pavers had been added over the years. So picture it like this: a chair with a wobbly leg. You can sit in it for years. You can even add a cushion which adds weights and it'll hold, right up until the exact moment it doesn't. And there's rarely one single moment you can point to and say that's when it broke. In the aftermath, Surfside and honestly the whole state of Florida changed its rules. Florida passed new legislation requiring more frequent structural inspections for condo buildings and mandating that associations actually maintain reserve funds for major repairs. No more kicking the can down the road on a $15 million bill. The families of victims and survivors eventually settlements totaling roughly $1 billion, covering the property owners, the engineering firms involved, and others connected to the building maintenance and construction history. And the site itself is now home to a memorial. 98 individual markers, one for each person who went to sleep that night in a building they trusted never to wake up again. If there's one thing this story leaves you with, it's this: the warning signs were there, written down in a report with a price tag attached. And the gap between "we know about this" and "we fixed it" is where this entire tragedy lived. If you want to understand how buildings fail, and more importantly, how they're supposed to be caught before they do, there's a lot more in my channel for you to watch. I'll leave a couple of those in the description down below. And like always, thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to see more videos just like this, be sure to subscribe and check out my playlist down below for building disasters. You can also check out these videos early on Patreon, so you can support me over there as well. And like always, I will see you all in the next video.